so that everything can be part of it and the leaders don't miss out on anything. Hello, fellow Toastmasters from across Southern Network. If you're here for the first time, a unique community of corporate clubs from across Southern Africa. We discuss topics, we brainstorm, we problem solve, but most importantly, we network as a group of corporate clubs. If you're here for the first time, you've missed a lot. We've discussed just about everything here on Corporate Leadership Network. When we started off the program, the first thing we spoke about was unlocking the benefits of Toastmasters in your professional life. We then moved on to discussing how to create wow sessions or meetings or events or whatever you're calling them at your club. And then before the end of the year in November, we spoke about inviting your colleagues to come to the club as guests. Last month, we spoke about converting those guests that you invited to your club to members. And our facilitator at that time, how to go about doing it. We're almost coming to a full circle, but not quite. We're continuing this conversation about membership because it is so important, especially for us as Toastmasters. This is the time that we get to renew our commitment to ourselves. And whilst we do so, one of the very critical elements in that mentorship or in that membership experience, as we like to call it, is mentorship. We realize that a lot of clubs across Southern Africa are lacking this very, very critical element of the member experience. And so we decided to bring it to you for corporate clubs specifically. And we've entitled it Accelerating Your Members' Growth Through Mentorship. Now, whilst this forum is only for community club or for corporate clubs, we believe that whether you're from a community club or a university club, you can certainly benefit from today's session. So please jot down your questions or your comments. At the end, we will certainly have a question and answer session where our facilitator will get yours answered. On the topic of facilitator, I'm very excited about today's facilitator. He is a keynote speaker. He's also an executive excellence coach. He believes that I am a believer of people's limitless potential with a passion for farming people and enjoy nurturing and watching them grow. He's a human resources development executive. You would have seen on the marketing material that is also a past mentorship program leader. In Southern Africa, we have a program, a mentorship program called Mentors Without Borders. And this facilitator was one of the team leaders in the previous Toastmasters year. I love how he says, I am not a member of Toastmasters. It is a way of life. We're so excited today. He is Distinguished Toastmaster Edmore Kamundani, and he will be discussing the topic, Accelerating Your Members' Growth Through Mentorship. The virtual stage is yours, Edmore.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maud. Confirm that you can hear me and you can see me.
Indeed, we can.
Okay, I think you just muted when you switched off your video, but well and good.
Thank you so much.
Wonderful. So today we want to look at how you can accelerate your members' growth through mentorship. I'm just going to be sharing with you some of my experiences within the organization and how I have grown through mentorship. And I believe that mentorship is something that we can leverage on in our clubs. And I greatly appreciate that mostly in corporate clubs, you find that mentorship has taken a center stage, even in the corporate world. In the community club, in the community and also in the community clubs, we are talking of mentoring, we're talking of coaching these days. I'd like to just start off with an experience that I had in my local supermarket. So one day I was sent by my father-in-law's daughter. For those who do not know, my father-in-law's daughter is my wife. So she asked me to go and grab something from the supermarket. When I got into the supermarket, I didn't know where that item was. So unfortunately as well, the aisles were not named. So I went round the supermarket trying to look for that item. I was in a rush, and it was so frustrating to spend a lot of time looking for an item. Eventually I found it and subsequently took it home. But the frustration that I had at that particular time just got to me. The next time I was sent for a different item. This time around, instead of trying to look for the item, I went to one of the shop attendants and asked him where the item was. And they made a beeline to where the item was. And in record time, I was out of that supermarket. Subsequently, I found my way around the supermarket, and I knew where the basic items were. And with time, I was able to quickly get into the supermarket, pick up the item that I wanted and go home. Lo and behold, as the supermarket was also growing and it was also succeeding, they decided to reorganize and refurbish the supermarket. And this time around, when I visited the newly refurbished shop, a lot of the items whose location I knew were no longer at the places that I used to know. Guess what I did this time around? I went over to one of the shop attendants that I met and asked them where the item that I was looking for was. Beeline to the shelf, to the new shelf where it was located. In record time, I was out of the supermarket. Fellow Toastmasters, for me, that story just embodies what mentorship is. When you join the organization, when you are a new member in Toastmasters, you want to improve your speaking skills, you want to improve your leadership skills. You can wander around in the supermarket looking for the items that you want. And you can spend a lot of time. And in some instances, you may actually get frustrated because you don't find the item. And you go out of the supermarket without your item. So you go out of the organization, you terminate your membership because you feel you cannot find what you want. And that is where mentorship comes for me. And for me, like the shop attendants, mentors are the people who assist you to get to the product that you want quicker. You can do it on your own, but it can take time. So mentors, in essence, assist you to get to that point. I'll just briefly share a few pointers with regards to this concept of mentoring. Please confirm you can see my slide in a moment.
Yes,
Someone please
sir.
confirm.
Yes, sir, we can see it.
Growth through mentoring.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes.
For starters, I believe I'm preaching to the converted already. We have a faint idea of how it all started. So the mentor was a friend and trusted counselor of Odysseus. And when Odysseus left for the Trojan War, he placed mentor in charge of his son Telemachus. So in this particular case, here is somebody who realizes that for my son to do well, for my son to be able to grow in a manner that he may be able to take over the kingdom, let me leave him to somebody that is trusted, to somebody that I can actually trust. And that is why he then left his son to mentor. So essentially, that is the origin of mentor, and that it's a Greek word that has evolved and come into the English language. And what exactly then is a mentor? A mentor is somebody who takes personal interest and helps. Remember the shop attendant that I mentioned in my opening story. The shop attendant has interests in serving the customer. The shop attendant can help. And this shop attendant in this particular case knows their way around the supermarket. Why do they know their way around the supermarket? Because they work in there and they spend a lot of time in there. They've been in there and they are aware of how the place is laid out. And at times, the mentor serves as a role model. They have traveled this path before, and they can assist you with ideas on how do we then move from one point to another. And they can also coach you, they can handhold you so that you attain your objectives. At times, there are things that we cannot say in public, but the moment that you have somebody who has a listening ear and somebody that you know you can trust, and I believe is one of the elements of the Toastmasters program. One of the values of the Toastmasters program is respect, amongst the others, where you've got integrity, service, and excellence, respect. So you have respect for the information that you're given by the mentee, or the elements that are shared by the mentee. They are between you and your mentor. They're between the mentee and the mentor. They also have been in the organization for some time. And I will just let you in on this aspect. For a person to be a mentor, usually you need to have been in the organization for at least 6 months in good standing. When I say in the organization, I'm not just talking of seated on your virtual chair and just listening to people deliver their presentations and that's it. You need to have actively participated. And we all know what active participation in Toastmasters is. It is delivering your projects, getting evaluations, and taking up other responsibilities. And for you to be a mentor, you should have at least completed your level 1. For those who have completed level 1, you'll appreciate that by the time that you complete your level 1, you would have gained some experience. Probably not a lot of experience, but that is significant. You are able to at least assist somebody who's coming in. So a mentor will help someone to be successful. The same paces that you go through as a mentee, you can also assist others to go through the same. And when you join a club, you have an opportunity to be assigned a mentor. So we are talking at least let's collapse that learning curve. Can you hear me? I believe I lost connection for a bit there.
We can hear you. You're back online, sir.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you, Edmond.
All right. Confirm you can see my slide again.
Yes, we can. Your slides are beautiful. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for the response. So when a member joins the club, if you assign them a mentor, then you collapse that learning curve. That is the importance of having a mentor. And just on that aspect, you'll find that there are two kinds of mentorship or two kinds of mentoring that I like to refer to. The first one, I like to refer to it as the primary mentoring. And the second one is the secondary mentoring. For the primary mentoring, it's essentially what I will spend a lot of time on in this discussion. And that is when a person becomes a member of Toastmasters, how do you onboard them? How do you assist them through their first few projects? And for this, it's usually through their level 1, from the starting point up until they get to level 1. And like I indicated earlier on, that the moment that they've completed their level 1, it's like being in primary school. I remember back in the day when I was in primary school, the way that our education system is organized, you have elementary school, the very elementary school, which we call kindergarten. So kindergarten would be for your 6-year-olds and for your 7-year-olds. And you have what you would term senior primary school, which would be for your 8-year-olds to 12-year-olds. So the moment that we moved from kindergarten, we're so excited because now we were moving on to the big school. So when we move on to the big school, we were able to assist our younger siblings or friends from the neighborhood with the who were the 6-year-olds and the 7-year-olds, because we had been there. Now we are able to assist them. But when we got on to the big school, we also needed to be assisted by the seniors. So for me, the primary mentorship is the kindergarten. So once you have graduated from kindergarten, you now are able to assist the others who are joining kindergarten. So now that you have completed your level 1, you have been in the organization for at least 6 months, you are able to assist somebody who has just joined the organization, somebody who has just become a member of Toastmasters. So at the end of it, that is the primary mentoring. And that is what I will be talking about to great lengths. But then you can always have questions concerning the other form of mentoring, which I'll also talk to, which is the secondary mentoring. So the secondary mentoring, you've now graduated to the big school. You now need guidance from the fellow students who are in big school. They can be of a higher grade or even a lower grade. But look at the beauty of this. A 12-year-old can still go and mentor a 6-year-old. So a 12-year-old can still go to kindergarten and mentor or guide the grade 1 or the 2nd grade student because they have also been there. And somebody who is 8 years old can go on and assist a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old because they've been there. So that's basically the way that mentoring is structured. And when we go through that, you realize that there is ease in transition. A new member joins, they're able to learn the program from somebody who has been on the program. They also learn the nuts and bolts, the ways to the bathroom or the ways to the coffee stand. I'm just putting this more elaborately. So now you learn the club standards, you learn the customs in the club. One of the customs in one of the clubs that I belong to is you are recognized for the humor in the meeting is recognized. And there's actually a trophy for the person who has been the most humorous in the meeting. And this trophy was actually named after one of the most humorous members of the club, who unfortunately passed away in a road traffic accident. So it was Paul Webb, and the club that I'm talking about is Executive Toastmasters Club. So there's a Paul Webb trophy for the most humorous. So at the end of it, that's a custom that you find in the club, and that is what makes it more interesting. And there is a certain club culture. If you visit my club, Executive Toastmasters Club, in a face-to-face meeting, you will take note of the balance and you'll take note of the culture. And you find that different clubs have got different cultures. So when a person comes in for the first time, at first they may be lost. But if they've got a mentor, the mentor will assist them through those first phases. And with time, you know that you've got a mentor. And usually in the physical meetings, it is encouraged that the new members sit next to their mentor. What that does is it assists them in developing their confidence. Now that you know that if anything were to go wrong, you've got somebody who will hand hold you. You've got somebody who will explain what is happening at any stage in the meeting. And subsequently, they'll give you more information. With that, now that there is this self-confidence that's building up, then you find that you are able to make baby steps and start participating even more. One thing that I love about Toastmasters, and there is an American author, some of you may be familiar with him, a renowned author when it comes to personal development, Brian Tracy. He explained the concept of Toastmasters to me in a way that I understood and that I appreciated. So Brian Tracy actually urges people to join Toastmasters if they want to improve their leadership skills, if they want to improve their speaking skills particularly. And he says that the way that the Toastmasters organization works is that of systematic desensitization. So when you deliver your icebreaker, you may be so nervous and you are all over the show with regards to, you don't even know where to put your hands, you don't even know how to refer to your notes, and so many other aspects that you want to learn. So if you were nervous, if we would put this in percentage points, you probably are 100%. Okay. I suppose the fact that you can go up to in front of the audience, even the virtual audience, and start speaking, let's say that you're 90% nervous. The next time that you deliver a project, you are used to the 90% nervousness. Your nervousness may drop down to maybe 80%. And by the time that you have done maybe 10 projects or even more, your nervousness will be continuously reducing. So in the end, you actually forget how to be nervous. Fine, you still have butterflies in your stomach, even when you've been in Toastmasters for more than a decade and a half, like myself. But at the end of it, you can manage that situation. So that is systematic desensitization. So with that, when you participate more in the Toastmasters program, then you will learn better. Then you will grow even better. So now, if you are going to assist a mentee, if somebody is going to join and they're going to be assisted by a mentor through this, through participating, through being taught how to go about their projects, then by default, we accelerate their growth. So they quickly learn the speaking skills because they're getting feedback from their mentor. They're also getting feedback from the evaluator as we go. But they have an opportunity to ask questions, to ask the mentor questions on areas that they do not understand. Unlike a situation whereby you are there and you have no one to be asking and you have no one to be referring to, and you are just scared to be approaching all these strangers in the room. This mentor that has been assigned to you becomes a friend. That is one of the critical elements of mentoring. As you go, you also find that even the more experienced members, as they assist the newer members, I'd say that I'll be talking about the primary mentoring, which is that the mentoring of the newer members. As they are assisting the newer members, they also further refine their skills. And this, for me, is embodied in a saying by the late Dr. Stephen Covey, the renowned American author of the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. He said that you learn better when you teach. So you realize that as you teach, you also are learning. I always give this example. I used to be afraid of giving this example. I suppose I hadn't gotten over it for quite some time, but now having breached the 40-year mark, I think I'm starting to live my life and appreciating some of the challenges that I went through. So in my country, back in the day, if you wanted to go and study for a medical degree, to study medicine, a bachelor in surgery, you needed to have had distinctions, 3 distinctions in all the 3 advanced level subjects that you were taking. I thought I wanted to be a doctor, and I went and studied those 3 subjects at A level. Lo and behold, I missed the mark, and I couldn't go and become and study for a medical degree. I ended up joining the teaching field because the degree program that I then took on allowed me to go and teach. When I was teaching, the very subject that had stopped me from joining medical school, the very subject that had made my points deficient for me to go to medical school, I was surprised at how easy some of the things were now that I was teaching them. And just out of fun, I decided to rewrite the very paper, the very exam that I had taken several years before. It was the simplest exam that I had ever taken. But how did that happen? To Dr. Stephen Covey's words, you learn better when you teach. It gives you a better context, So now when you are a mentor, you learn better. And you learn some of the skills that you may have missed during the time when you were learning that stage. And I suppose that is the reason why a lot of parents who've got children in senior elementary school or even high school, they ask them to assist their younger siblings with homework, because now it has become easier for them. So again, here is the issue of mentoring. When you become a mentor, and after you've done your level 1, go and become a mentor. You will learn some of the skills that you may have missed before, and you'll be able to also advance. So mentoring is that fragrance which when you spray on somebody, you also have the fragrance on you. There's a saying that I was trying to recollect that talks, that speaks to that when you spray a fragrance, there is some fragrance that also remains on you. Don't be afraid of taking up mentoring. The moment that you have done your first level, you have completed your level 1, and you also have been within the organization for at least 6 months. Here is the other thing. When it comes to the issue of mentoring, there is formal mentoring, there's also informal mentoring. Maybe not that totally assigned to a new member, but you can still assist a new member. You can give them even more feedback after the meeting. And for me, that's informal mentoring. For the formal mentoring, that's when you are assigned to be a mentor for somebody. And as a mentee, you're assigned to somebody. But there is no way where it is written that if you are then assigned to this mentor, you cannot go and ask any other member to assist you with your skills. So again, you learn new skills as a mentor. The more experienced members also learn new skills. I don't know if there are any quick questions before we move on to the next segment. There will be a question and answer subsequently at the end. But now, if there are any quick thoughts with regards to what I have shared so far. If there are any hands, could one of the admins please assist? If not, I will proceed. I've already mentioned some of the benefits for the mentees. When you are a mentee, you learn faster. And again, I was just talking about the benefits to more experienced members who essentially then become the mentors. So you also learn from your mentees. And the beauty of Toastmasters for me, earlier on I alluded to the fact, or in the introduction it was alluded to the fact that Toastmasters for me is a way of life. Why is Toastmasters a way of life for me? It's because I have discovered that Alvin Toffler's words are true in our world. Alvin Toffler, a renowned American author, says that the literate of today are not those people only with the ability to read or write, but those people with the ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So for me in Toastmasters, I stay literate. There are so many ideas that I have learned from Toastmasters that I have applied in my life. And there's some things that I have gone on to unlearn on the Toastmasters platform, because Toastmasters is for everyone. As you apply to be a member of Toastmasters, there's no point where they ask you about your academic qualifications. But guess what? A lot of the Toastmasters, invariably, if not all Toastmasters, have got significant academic prowess in their fields. You'll have lawyers, you'll have accountants, you'll have doctors, you'll have farmers, you'll have gardeners, you'll have people across the economic divide. So if you've got a community like that in a Toastmasters set up, you learn from across the society. So if you're going to learn from across the society and you live in the society, essentially for me, it then becomes a way of life, because I learn all these skills. So again, your mentee may be, I was about to say, maybe your CEO. It can happen in the corporate setup. I hope that there are CEOs who are that humble to be able to learn from somebody who is their junior. And I actually encourage that cross-learning. I learn it at work. I learn a lot from my subordinates. And even in the Toastmasters meetings, I learn a lot from the millennials, from people who are 19 years old who have joined Toastmasters. They can evaluate my speech, and they can give me valuable feedback. Some of them can actually be informal mentors. Some of them are actually informal mentors. So you can also learn from your mentees. The Toastmasters landscape provides us with that opportunity. Mentors also remain productive. When you give, there's this fulfilling tongue twister. There's this fulfilling feeling that you have. And you also are on top of your game. You remain current. Remember what I mentioned earlier on, that it's a platform that you remain literate. You learn, unlearn, and relearn, and you stay current. The people who have distinguished Toastmasters, for argument's sake, 10 years ago, some of them have since left Toastmasters. But you find that their skills, in as much as they got the Toastmasters accolade, the fact that they then left, they still have it in them to be able to present, to understand the structures of a presentation. But if you were to take that individual and somebody who remained in Toastmasters, like myself, and we were to be given an opportunity to deliver a presentation, by far, the difference will be noticeable. Because here is one person who has remained on the meal. So same applies. When you participate as a mentor, then you are active. You are looking for information that your mentee is asking you on, and your mentee is reminding you about some other aspects that you may have forgotten. And subsequently, you are learning together. So you stay current. There's no better time to be talking of currency than in our current. There's no better time to be talking about currency than in our current period of information technology. ICT developments are moving just so fast. You just need to keep up. Same applies to even the Toastmasters platform. There is a lot of movement. So stay productive and stay current. I mentioned the issue of doing something for others. You always get this fulfillment from helping others. And it was indicated in the introduction that I farm people. I love nurturing and watching people grow. And I believe that's one of the major reasons that has kept me in Toastmasters. I watch somebody coming in and they are stammering and they cannot. I have seen a few people who have not been able to complete their icebreakers, even online. And they just say, Toastmaster, may I get another opportunity in the next meeting to deliver? Then a number of meetings later, a year later, 6 months, a year later, you cannot make these people stop talking. And you hear of people having been promoted, particularly in the instances of corporate clubs. I've had the privilege of working with a number of corporate clubs. You hear that people have been promoted, but from the time that they started, and if you look where they were and where they will now be, it's light years ahead. So at the end of it, doing something for others always gives you this fulfillment. You also receive recognition when you are a mentor. When you're for the mentoring program, which we will talk about in a subsequent presentation, you also receive recognition for having gone through that mentoring process. When you then go in the mentoring program and you assist others to grow, you assist others to grow, you accelerate the growth of other members. The other aspect to mentoring, which I would like to also add at this point, is the moment that you build up your new members. There's a saying that I love in my local language. I'll not bore you with the cliques of my local language, but it loosely translates to giving is shelving. So giving is shelving. So when you shelve something, you can always reach out for it when you need it. So at the end of it, I have had the privilege of being mentored by my mentees several years down the line. So here, it could be in the mold of also what goes around comes around. Here I was assisting new members with primary mentoring. And after that, they grow. And after that, they may even outgrew my mentoring. And before long, they became my mentors. So now it's so fulfilling to have somebody that you assisted now coming on to assist you. I suppose there's also an emotional attachment to it in the same way that I've also become a mentor to people who mentored me. I've got this allegiance and I've got this emotional attachment that this person helped me out. I owe it to them to also help them out. I know in the dark ages, if somebody saved your life, then you owed their life to them, because if they had not saved your life, you would have died. So at the end of it, it becomes like that. But that's not the Toastmasters way and the way that we live today. But at the end of it, there's still that allegiance that you have. And you even go way out of your way. Today, I'm just using these alliterations so much. So you go way out of your way to assist somebody who has once assisted you. So you also receive recognition. Then here is the other part. When there is vibrant mentoring, you get your new members, they are onboarded, they get into the groove of the culture of the club. The club environment becomes vibrant and it becomes exciting. And who doesn't want to be associated with excitement? Who doesn't want to be associated with visible growth? And particularly for the corporate clubs. So now, if you know that if there is a Toastmasters club in the organization, your Toastmasters club, in your company, and they notice that there is this excitement, there's this vibrance, there's this vibe in the club, many people will now start inquiring. Many people will also want to be part of that fun and part of that vibrance and part of that growth. So mentoring assists in having more members, in creating that vibe and that environment that allows more members, and more members obviously coming from more satisfied members. And when members are satisfied, they stay longer. Fine, there's always the natural attrition. People are reassigned to different places or people leave the organization. But at the end of it, you'll have a critical mass of people that are within the club that also help each other, help in the growth process. When you have more members, I cannot overemphasize this. When you have more members, you have a greater variety. I remember back in the day, one of my mentees came to me and they were complaining about the disagreements that were happening in their club. So their club had been very small. So I had assisted them, the club, as a club coach, and subsequently the club now had more members. And at that time, you know, when there are more people, this is not an official say, and my sincere apologies for anyone who may take offense in any relation that I'm going to make on this note. So they say where two or more people are gathered, there's politics in the midst. So now, this club that I'm referring to had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 members at one point. Then all of a sudden, they had more than 20 members. So this variety brought about a different dynamic. Whereas they could easily agree when they were 7, but now there were different aspects. So my mentee was saying, why don't we make people agree, kind of? That you are the coach, you should make sure that everyone agrees. Then I said, I'm actually very happy that there are disagreements that are happening. It now shows me that people so this new dynamic, I hope you can still see my slide, but anyway, there was a blip for a moment. So this dynamic now of having more members, it then brings about that activity, and it also then brings about that debate. And now you are creating a proxy of the organization, a proxy of the society. So now you actually have the opportunity to lead when there are varying ideas, when people are not in agreement. So it's allowing you an opportunity to actually learn real leadership skills. Unlike a situation where it's just the 3, 4, 5 of you. Now you need to be leading this team. So the more members that you're going to have, please allow me to reshare this slide, and then I'll be ending, and we'll then move on to the question and answer. So you have more satisfied members. I did something here, which I may need to undo. I don't believe there are many other slides that were following that, but at the end of it, it's then just to appreciate that fact that you have higher member retention when the club is vibrant, when you've got more members. There are certain qualities that you'd expect from a mentor, but we can always talk about that in the next session. But for now, I believe that I have summed up some of the critical elements, and if anything, I've just made you excited, or at least sold the mentoring case to you as a way of accelerating our member growth. I'll just end it at this point and allow for the question and answer in the remaining time.
Maud, you are on mute at the moment, if you were trying to speak.
Okay, I'll just go to the chat and see the ones that I am able to figure out. There's a hand up from Chirewo.
Hello, greetings, everyone. I seem to be getting some feedback. I hear myself more than I would want to hear the other people. But I posted my question in the chat box, and I just wanted to thank you, Edmore, for the presentation and for sharing the insights. It's quite provocative, and it's also it has also stimulated our interest in introducing the mentorship program at our own club. My question is now, how do we introduce this at our corporate club? What is the best approach to introduce at our club? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Andrew, for that question. I believe if Maud had been able to unmute herself, she would have then shared regarding how do we then set up a program. It's going to be a discussion that we'll have in our next segment, which is at a time to be advised. But maybe just in brief, one important thing then becomes, for me, it's to actually have members going through the Toastmasters mentoring, which is, for some reason, which I will call strange, an option for quite a number of parts on level 2. But if it were by me, I would have loved it to be compulsory for all parts. I know there are some parts where it is not optional, but at the end of it, I would then urge that people go through that program. And obviously, you then need to identify your members and more like have a profile of people who have been within the club for a certain number of, for a period of time, 6 months, at least 6 months, and they've done their level 1. Those are the ones that are key to become mentors. There's also a program that's running, and you could reach out to Mentors Without Borders. If maybe in your club, you don't necessarily have as many experienced members or members that have been in the club for long. You could reach out to Mentors Without Borders, and you can get mentors from anywhere in the world. And for now, you can get mentors from anywhere in Southern Africa. And you could also then ask people to come through and assist with the mentoring. And even for your members, I like to have homegrown solutions as first prize. For your members, again, just allocate the allocation of experienced members assisting the new members. Let that allocation be there, and there are forms that you then use to follow up through that mentoring relationship. I always like to say, do what works. And particularly in the corporate club setup, if you're going to be mentoring each other within the club, then navigate the space that you have within your corporate club and see how best you can have this relationship going. It is always a relationship. And one thing that I was going to add on one of the slides that they didn't show is the issue of that this is a finite relationship. So particularly for the primary mentoring, once a person is gone through their first level, once they've gone through their first level, you can conclude that segment of the mentoring. They can go on. Now they've found their feet even within the organization. They can identify a different mentor and they can go and get assistance from there. And the mentor don't feel that you have been dumped. At times, we just then have to move on. If you then feel that you want to renew that mentoring contract, you can as well go ahead. All right. I hope that assists. But for more on creating the mentoring program or starting the mentoring program, Maud is going to organize another session. Maud, I don't know if you managed to unmute.
Yes, I did. I had to change devices, but we're always ready as Toastmasters. Thank you so much, Edmo, for sharing your nuggets. I particularly enjoyed the way you took a very complex topic of mentorship and you made it very easy to understand. I know that for a lot of our clubs, this is still a development area. A lot of our clubs don't have this program in place. And so the way you've debunked it and made it so easy to understand, thank you so much for sharing your insights. Leaders, this conversation doesn't end here. The Corporate Leadership Network, we only meet for an hour. And so a session like this needs so much time. And to answer the leader who asked about what are the next steps? Where do we take it from here? We thought that we would set the scene and almost build the foundation on the topic of mentorship. The next step is to show you how do you set up this program at your club. Next Monday, I think it's the 4th of March or the 5th of March, the first Monday, next Monday, we are going to host another session such as this, but it's only going to talk on the topic of how do you set up a mentorship program at a corporate club. Remember, we're a corporate leadership network. We're a community of corporate clubs. The same framework could work at a community or university club, but our focus on this particular masterclass that we will host next week is specifically for corporate clubs. So if you don't have a mentorship program at your club, I want to encourage you to clear your diary, same time, 1700 Central African time. It will take us maximum of 90 minutes. We don't want to skimp on this. We really, really want to give you value. And so please invite a very specific group of leaders within your club, and I'll mention each and the reason why. The first person is your Vice President of Education. This person is very critical in your club. In fact, the mentorship program forms part of the learning and development, and this would sit ideally in the portfolio of your Vice President of Education. But as a Vice President of Education, we know you've got your hands full. So ideally, you're not doing this alone. You will have a team that will be assisting you to make this possible. The first team member will be your immediate past president. Usually in Toastmasters, it is asked that the immediate past president be the custodian or the coordinator of the mentorship program. But your club may be a new club, or perhaps your immediate past president is no longer a member of Toastmasters. So you could ask any member to assist with that, but we can always discuss that during the course of this week. But ideally, vice presidents of education, the immediate past presidents, and then we also ask for the president. The reason why is we want to set you up for success, and the president from the 1st of July will automatically become the immediate past president, and that will be the person who will be assisting the vice president of education with coordinating that mentorship program. And then we realized that this forum has attracted a lot of area and division directors. And so if you're an area or division director and you've got corporate clubs within your area or division, please invite them to the session. It's very critical to their success as a club, and especially in accelerating the growth of their members. Then, of course, we don't want to forget our clubs that are just having different challenges. They may have a coach, or if you're from a new club, you would have someone called a club mentor. For both those groups, it's going to be very important that you set those clubs up for success. Your assignment might be coming to an end very soon. Please do not let that club go without helping them set up that mentorship program. It would be lovely if you attended as a refresher, but encourage them to come to or to attend to, so they have the framework and the skills to be able to set up that program come the 1st of July or even earlier. And so, leaders, we will market that far and wide in the past week, in the next week. It's going to be next Monday on Teams, 1700 to about 18:30 maximum. May finish earlier, but we thought we'd just leave a 90-minute buffer for anyone who has questions. Please do not miss that session. It's going to be an absolute game changer for you, and especially if your club does not have a mentorship program. We've got exactly 3 minutes to go. We love to start on time, end on time, and waste no time. Pame, I don't know if there's any other questions or comments that have come through from the chat box. Over to you.
Yes, there's actually one question from Adam that we received in the chat box a bit earlier. The question is mentorship bound together with coaching? On the very first slide, it talks about mentorship and coaching as one. So I think it's just clarity on the difference between mentorship and coaching.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. I'll have a go at it. I was in the process of actually typing a response to it, where I was saying mentoring is usually done by someone who has traveled the path. So for me, it's really splitting hairs, whether it's coaching, whether it's mentoring. But if we look at Toastmasters mentoring and mentoring maybe in general, it's really somebody who has been through the path. Like the example that I was giving of my teaching experience, whereby after I had written the exam and when I was going on to teach the exam, I had been through it before. So it's a more experienced member who's assisting a less experienced member, particularly for primary mentoring. Subsequently, it can then be muddled up and mixed up. But maybe just the short answer to that is mentoring is usually done by somebody who has traveled the path. You're assisting somebody who has not been on the path before. I hope that answers you, Adam.
I would also like to add an addition to what Edmore has put for the sake of all the leaders. This is how I also understand mentoring versus coaching. In addition to what Edmore has said, is mentoring tends to be a little bit more long-term and coaching tends to be a little bit short-term and a very specific thing. So if you think about finance coaches, running coaches, fitness coaches, money coaches, they help you with something that's very, very specific. You could get a coach in Toastmasters. So for example, if you're wanting to learn how to do evaluations, and that's been a development area for you, you could ask a member from your club or from another to assist you with how do you go about evaluating. That could be a coaching kind of a relationship because it's on something very specific within the Toastmasters journey. Mentoring tends to be a little bit more general in helping you from a longer term view. So that for me is one of the ways that I also differentiate between the two. So Adam, what Edmore said is definitely correct. I've just added and amplified what he said just to give other leaders just a little bit more of a wider view on what that's about. Leaders, we've come to the end of today's session. Yet again, I want to thank Edmore so much for sharing his nuggets. Leaders have asked for the presentation. We will gladly send that to you. I will very shortly be dropping 2 links into the chat box. The first one is going to be my contact number. I've been getting leaders from across Southern Africa wanting all kinds of assistance. And if that is you, I will drop my details in the chat box shortly. So please don't leave until I've done so. And then the second one, if you're here today, but you're not part of this network, or maybe you're coaching, mentoring a club, you're involved with a club that is a corporate club and they're not part of this community, I'm going to drop a link to that group. It would be lovely to have them there. We problem solve, we engage, we share ideas, and most importantly, we network. This has been this month's edition of Corporate Leadership Network. It's been an amazing one. Just in case you missed it, we meet on the 4th Monday of each month. And our next session will be on the 4th Monday of March. I don't have the date offhand, but we look forward to seeing you for another conversation on how to benefit as corporate clubs. I'm about to drop the link into the chat box. Have yourselves a lovely afternoon, morning, evening further. We'll continue the conversation. Bye-bye.
Bye, and thank you very much.
Thank you so much, leaders. It was an amazing opportunity to host you. A reminder of our session taking place next Monday from 1700 to 1830 Central African time. And it's going to be all about how to set up a mentorship program at your corporate club. Please do invite all the corporate clubs in your network, your vice president of education, your president, your immediate past presidents, club coaches, club mentors, area or division directors who have corporate clubs in their area or division. We want to empower you for success, and it starts with giving you the structures to be able to do so. So please do not miss that session next Monday, 1700 to 1830 Central African time.
Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you so much, leaders. Thank you.
Thank you, Maud. Can I stop the meeting for all?
We'll just give the leaders a second. I think some of them may have wondered. We could stop the recording for now. That would really be great.
Okay.